So we're just going to select these two, go to Actions, and Merge Invoices. Now you can see we only have one invoice with everything that was on the two invoices before. Hey guys, if you're here for some simple free code that will merge invoices for you, you've come to the right place. If you'd like to understand how that works so you can do it in other places in ODOO, you've also come to the right place. So let's go ahead and hop in. And if all you wanted was the code, it's in the description, but I'd encourage you to stick around because there's good stuff to learn here. So first we need to make sure we're in developer mode. I've got my friendly little monkey here that I can click to get me in developer mode, but if you don't have that, you can just as easily go to settings and scroll all the way down and then go to activate the developer mode. Now that we've done that, we can start typing server and get server actions right here, and we're going to create a new one. Let's go in and name this merge invoices. We're going to be executing code, or specifically executing Python code, and our model is journal entries, also known as account.move. Now, if you haven't already, it's time to download the code I provided you. Go to the link in the description. So we're going to copy that code, then select all of this and paste it in, and let's save, and then I'll walk you through what's happening here. So the first thing that we've got here is a variable to hold our accounts receivable account ID. Okay, so for most of you, if you didn't change base ODOO, it's just going to be a 6, and you don't have to worry about it beyond that. But for the rest of us, we're going to go into the chart of accounts, okay, and then we're going to look for our accounts receivable account, which is right here. Okay, we're going to go to view, and then we're going to look up here, and you see this number right here, right after the / is a 6, so that's what we're going to use. If you're using something a little bit older, not that much older because ODOO just changed it, you're going to look for ID equals, and that will be the number that you use. So zooming in and moving on, next we have a variable called AR line. We're going to set that as false for right now. Latest invoice, we're going to set that as false for now, and debit sum, we're going to set as 0. So we're saying for record in records, so for every invoice that we check the checkbox next to, so if we were to go into invoices and we were to select these two, those would be all of our records. So for each of these, we're going to do something. So for that, we're going to look at it and say if latest invoice equals false, so if we haven't set the latest invoice yet, or if the latest invoice has an invoice date that is less than our current record's invoice date, then we're going to make the current record the latest invoice. Then after that, on line 11, we're going to set a piece of context that makes it so that ODOO isn't checking the move validity. That allows us to have an unbalanced journal entry for a short time so that we can come in and we can adjust journal items and clean this up. Then we're going to go back through our records, so all the invoices that we've got a checkbox on, and we're going to say for each of these, for the lines that are inside of our invoice, so that's all of these guys right here, pop back. For all of these guys right here, we're going to do something. So for each of those, we're going to come in and we're going to change the name and set it to billing for invoice date so that we have a little bit of a record. You can suppress this if you don't need that. And then we're going to say if the current record, so the invoice, if the invoice isn't our latest invoice, then for each of these lines, we're going to come in and say, okay, if the account isn't our AR account, so if the account ID isn't 6, then we're going to come in and run some SQL, and we're going to move that line to our latest invoice. So we're going to move the journal item to our latest invoice. If that's not the case, meaning that we are actually looking at an accounts receivable line right here, so if we're looking at this accounts receivable line, then what we're going to do is we're going to add to our debit sum. So that way we can get the full amount of the accounts receivable and figure out what it is, and then we're going to delete that line because we no longer need it, because we've got an accounts receivable line on our latest invoice already. Whew, I hope I haven't lost you yet, but this guy works, so if you need a second to walk through it, take that time. And then for the last item here, we're going to set the value of our AR line equal to debit sum. So we're taking all the AR lines that we deleted in all the other invoices, taking the net effect of those, and adding them to the AR line that we have here. And there are some fancier ways that you could do this, but I think this helps you to walk through it. And then finally, we are updating the summary fields on the invoice that we kept so that those are all accurate. Okay, hopefully you could follow that. I'm not the most amazing with Python, but this does work and it follows solid principles. So if you want to use this as a framework for merging your own invoices or for merging sales orders or purchase orders, this should give you a good starting point. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. It helps me out a bunch. I hope this was useful to you. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. And I'd be super grateful if you'd like or subscribe. Thanks, guys.